welcome to the Improv Summit. I'm your host, Spencer, as always, and with me today I have Chad. Chad, how's it going?
How's it going, sir?
Good, good, good. How are you?
I am doing well. I am happy to be here, not with you in the same room, but
But
looking at
one
you.
day,
Yeah, one day.
one day we'll be back in the same room at some point. Let's just dive in, shall we? Because that's what the
Yeah.
viewers and listeners are here for, is all about you, Chad, and your improv experience. So the first question I have, because it's gonna come out at some point, is what is your background in improv? And you can tell us whatever you want to tell us, but your general improv background.
So overall, generally, I've trained in New York and LA in both short form and long form. I started as a stand up, and I was a pure stand up. I didn't want to act, I didn't want to do anything else, but I found improv. Like everybody else, I watched Who's Line, both American and British version. Loved it. Didn't know you could take classes, but I was in New York and uh, I did UCB at first. So I went to UCB, the original UCB, and through that I also did Chicago City Limits, which was short form. So I cross trained, and I thought it would make me, better stage presence for stand up, better communication, and I just loved improv. So I started taking UCB, and from that I did a show, a stand up show there, hosted by Sean Conroy and Eddie Pepitone. It's called Hump Night, and I met a person who was at the pit, Pete LePage, and then I went over to the pit, produced a show there for like 2 years, started taking classes, and that kind of became my New York home. When I came to LA, I found iOS, which reminded me of the pit, and that became my home. But I also trained at UCB, Second City, the Pack, and was on Comedy Sports, LA.
Great. And also RIP iOS, because that was the first
Yeah,
place I trained at improv, like full on improv training. The first place I did was IO. So RIP. I really honestly, what's interesting is I feel like had I not started with IO, I don't know how much improv I would have done. IO, for me, based on the style of teaching, felt like it was the right style for me. And I love other programs for what they teach, and I love the programs. I haven't like been disappointed in a program yet, but I think IO is really where it wanted me to continue the improv, because I felt a certain feeling when I left those classes, which leads me to my next question. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but like, one, what drew you to improv, which you kind of talked about, this like whole stand-up thing, but two, what kept you involved in the improv community, the improv scene?
that's it. What I liked about improv versus stand up, and I think they can complement each other. I think you have to drop the stand up when you do improv, and you have to forget about it. And what I loved about improv is that I'm so used to memorizing stuff and having to make people laugh that on improv I have nothing to prepare. I just show up. It is very relaxing to me to show up without having to prepare anything,
Mm-hmm.
and then trust that you'll be funny, or your partner uh, will do a good scene, and you'll support your partner, and your partners will support you, and you'll come up with something like great together, and the audience will enjoy it. So to me, improv was never fearful, it was more relaxing to me.
That's great. That's great. I have the whole opposite thing where I use improv, like terrifies me, which is why I love it so much. But I think there's such a specific mechanic to improv, which is weird because improv is literally just kind of go with the flow, but it's not really. That improv for me helped me build my confidence. But then once I started to feel like improv clicked, is where I started to really enjoy it, because I'm like, oh, I get how improv works now, which is weird to say because it just feels like, a lot of people who don't know about improv are like, improv, you just make stuff up. Ah, that's easy. But it's so nuanced compared to what people actually think it is, that there's a lot to it. But
Yeah, it's easy and hard at the same time. It's like, just have fun, which essentially it is. After you learn all the technical things, get out of your head, repeat it,
Hmm.
so you can trust yourself to just have fun.
That's great. That's a good point. Yeah, definitely trust yourself to have fun. I think once I started to trust
Yeah.
myself, I had fun. Once I realized that I was like, I feel like I can do this. And I mean, I wouldn't say I'm nowhere near like an expert improviser by any means, but I started to understand how improv works, which I think helps me feel like, oh, I can do this. Which I think is one thing is that a lot of people think it's like you take one class and you know how to do improv. Sometimes there are people that way, but sometimes there are people like me that need a lot of different styles to kind of pull something from here, pull something from here, and kind of create my own makeshift way of doing improv based on everything that not makeshift, but like amalgamation of all the improv. And like, oh, this I understand, this I understand, this I understand. I can pull all these little different toolbox elements and kind of stick them in my pocket to throw out during shows. Anyway, enough about me. I have a question for you. It's I also just tend to ramble, and I know that the things that I talk about have like literally been mentioned in all of the episodes. So it's like people are just gonna fast forward. Anyway, um, do you have any favorite like types of improv? You know, the short form, long form, narrative, movie, two prov, all these different kinds. Do you have any specific ones that you really enjoy more than others? And if you don't, like if there's just certain ones that you like, that's great. Any favorite improv short form games that you like to play? And are there any warm ups that you like to play to help get you ready for an improv show? I know it's three questions, but feel free to answer whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
For here, I love both. I love training in all different theaters and short form and long form. I think they help each other. I think every
Hmm.
short form improviser needs to take a long form class. You don't need to, but I think it's very helpful and it will help you bring your scene work up and think of the overall show as far as like if a scene lasts more than 3 minutes, what are you gonna do?
Hmm.
That's where long form comes in. For me, I think I love the short form because uses so many different types of your brain, and I love the unknown. So I love to be pimped. I love to be getting gifts. So short form gives you all those different games in one show that pimp you out in other different ways. Probably stop using the phrase pimping. I say prompt now.
Hmm. Great.
But I love being giving gifts or giving gifts, and I love being thrown for a loop. So playing with all different players. That if performing wise, I do gravitate towards long form as, uh, you know, to perform, and I also like short form that you could get the silly and goofiness and be over the top, and you could do the dad jokes and the puns and stuff. And so there's a little bit of being corny and uh, trying to be corny on purpose,
Hmm.
and then also long form I like it's like what are we going to create together and how's this going to come together as a show. And where I gravitated towards, like I said, People's Improv Theater and iOS is the relationship. So, not that I don't like, I love game and I love using those tools, as you said, but if I'm looking for improv form to perform, it's going to be some sort of relationship based long form, uh, probably varied Harold or something like
Hmm.
that, but not specifically the Harold, kind of like a team that comes up with their own form, even if it's as simple as let's do two bass scenes, go crazy, and try to connect it at the end.
Hmm.
So,
Truncated,
um,
very truncated Harold, very truncated.
yeah,
Like not even
if
a
you
full
have
Harold.
I like unique openings, but I like some classic openings. They're always fun.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Short form games. I like Blind Line. I like Blind Line too for that same reason that I just discussed. Is that you pick up a line, you don't know what it says, and you have to instantly incorporate it. That I also like Switch Interview, where you get a suggestion a second before you sit down, and you basically have to come up with a character an interview person, and it's really about a 3-4 line scene, and you're on to the next. So you have to create that scene magic and funny bit cohesively and with 1 second notice in like 30 seconds. Character games, like any type of expert panel. I know there's more than one game, but
No, that's great.
I
If you got
love,
more, keep talking.
yeah, I love being creative in that way and coming up with new characters on the spot. I
That's so
do a
funny
lot of.
because those are like my least favorite games.
All right, yeah, see, everybody, see, that's the thing. There's what, 6, maybe 8 people on a show, on a short
Mhm.
form show if you're doing a comedy sports, 4 possibly if you're doing like Who's Line or Chicago City Limits plus a keyboard person. So, you each have those different strengths, and that's how the games balance out. Now, I'm awful at like I love them, but I'm awful at like Do Run Run or
And
the
I
dance
love
games. Yeah.
music games are my favorite.
Yeah. I love to rhyme and I love them, but I get called out. So it's like 50-50. I don't know if I'm going to get called out the first time I open my mouth.
Hmm.
But I love it. It's a challenge for me. And I feel I do something that's like fail funny. So I fail funny. I know I'm not a good singer. I could come up with a rhyme, but being on beat, and keeping up with everybody sometimes is I need a little more practice than most people. So, but I know I will be funny and I'll fail funny. So
I love this idea of failing funny because I know specifically with the do run run, and I see it a lot when people play this game. There's two different types of players. As far as there might be three, but really there's two types. I'm trying to. There we go in the screen. There's two types of players who will fail in that game, and some people fail funny, and some people just fail. And I've noticed it's like, especially when it's like the three, when you have like the. So for those who don't know, to do run run is a game based on, I think it's what, the Shirelles or the Crystals. I'm gonna look it up and put it in the chat. But there's a
yeah,
song
I think
called,
it's the crystals.
yeah, maybe it's the Crystals.
Yeah.
But it's like to do run 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 to do run run. But after each phrase, there's a starting word like a name like Sam, and then each person goes down the line and says a phrase, and the last word rhymes with Sam. When you get to the third person, every third person, so 3, 6, 9, or however many people there are, that person has to rhyme 3 in a row. Do do do, yeah. This is a rhyme. Do do do, yeah. And another rhyme. Do do do, yeah. That's a third rhyme. To do run run run. To do run run. And so a lot of times people get out on that. And what I've noticed is, especially when I see this game played, there's two ways of doing this. One is like, let's say the word was, I don't know, rug, right? So let's say I'm doing it one way. There's one way where you go, it is a bug. Yeah, this I'm gonna lug. Yeah, that boat is a tug, right? It's fun. And a lot of times people are like, they like surprise themselves when they get all three. So I guess there's three types. One is when you surprise yourself getting all three. The second one is the person who's like, this is a word. Yeah, it is so absurd. Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, you didn't get the rhyme and the time, and it wasn't, it's just like they're kind of failing. But the third one is the one that's like my actual favorite person, who you can tell that they don't know a third rhyme, and they know they're gonna go out. And it's like let's say the word was ball. They're like, and keep in mind that this could be like the seventh, eighth, ninth word that's been said. So these words, once a word's been said, you can't repeat it. So this person is like ball, and they're like, okay, oh, I've got it all. Yeah, my favorite season is fall. Yeah, and this is another word where they just like,
Yeah.
it's like that fail funny, or like failing big, failing funny is you like they. And then it's also like when they're like, yes, I got it right, didn't I? And it's like not even close. And that's the person that I love. And that's what you're talking about with that. This my whole spiel was getting to the point of your idea of failing funny. It's like taking those moments to be like, one, I've been playing too much. Let me get my other teammates in. But two, I know I'm gonna go out. So let me make it a big funny out. Because I know that I don't have any more rhymes. So let me just say something that's funny. Right.
In
So that's
Yeah.
what I love about that idea of failing funny.
In the end, it's about audience enjoyment. That's really the whole show.
Mhm.
Not the competition, the score, the colors. Um, that all that helps because that's a formula. People like competition. They like to see it. They want to root for somebody.
Mhm.
Even if they root for you to like, fail, you're like, oh man, I like that guy.
Yeah.
It couldn't sing, but I like him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like,
I
you
remember
know,
the audience was not on my side when I played that game. The suggestion of the name was Cher, Cher, right?
yeah, yeah.
And and there was only 3 players, so it just kept constantly coming back to me. I was the third person. So it was like someone said something, someone said something. I got 3 words in a row, right? I did great. Came back around again. I got 3 words in a row. It was like I was just like killing it. Then I got to the third round and I said like hair, care, or whatever the words were. And the third word I said was she likes to share. Share.
Yeah.
And the ref was like, I'm gonna give it to you because I've gotten through 9 words at this point. But the audience was like, no, he said share. And so like then he's like, I've got to do it because the audience called it. And he's like, I wouldn't have done it. And he's like, but the audience said something. And I was like, but they're different. They're homonyms. They're homophones.
Yeah.
They sound the same. They're literally not the same word. But like someone, I think the word was like Mark, and someone said Mark, like he hit his mark, and they didn't call that out. And I was like, why are you not calling? That's literally spelled the same.
Yeah, I would have called you both out. I would have called you both out. But I do.
But also, I had gotten through 8 words that I had to rhyme on top of the other words that people said. So give me that 9th one. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I guess it would depend on the situation. Early on, I probably, and a tougher like a 2-syllable one. Sometimes I let slant rhymes go, but
Oh, I had the best slant rhyme I
yeah.
think ever. It was cotton was the suggestion. Was cotton. And I was the second person to go. So someone said like, met her on Tuesday and her name was Cotton. And it was my turn. And I was like, what rhymes with cotton? I was like, I couldn't think of any words. And so I went, I don't say yes, I don't say nothing. And I said it like that. And the audience like died of laughter. And so I stayed in. And then the next person did the 3 and they were like, misbegotten. And I was like, oh, these are words too I didn't even think about. I could not think of a word that rhymed with cotton, but it worked so well because I made a choice and I stuck with it.
Yeah, I'll be on the sidelines through the whole the whole show, being like, "What? Oh, there's Sue, do, boo, glue, glue."
Then they give you all the weird names, and you're like, okay,
yeah,
like it's like chrysanthemum. Okay, good luck. It's like, but then also I've learned like even then like one of the big tricks. Here's a big secret for everyone. I was gonna say a spoiler. I guess whatever. Secret is if it's a 2-syllable word, like let's say Adam, you really have to rhyme with the second syllable. You don't really have to rhyme with the first syllable. So keep that in mind. Always go for that second syllable because there's not a lot of words that, I mean, Adam, I guess madam, but then you're rhyming the same second word anyway. But really think about the second word. Like if it's chrysanthemum, all I have to think about is rhyming with mum.
Yeah, so, as long as you get that, you could get away with it. Here's what it is. You go for all syllables, but you have your last syllable on in your back pocket. You hit that easy one, you're like, okay, I have this. But if you could hit all 3, then you get impressive points.
Yeah, or I guess in my case with chrysanthemum 4.
I'm not even gonna try.
I don't even know if you can fit 4 syllables into the phrase. Met her on a Tuesday, her name was chrysanthemum. Like I don't even think that's gonna fit in the phrase, the bar. Anyway, we've gotten way off topic, but that's okay. I mean, we're on topic, I guess.
Yeah, I hope you guys like that game.
Yeah, because you're gonna
learn nothing.
That being said, so this kind of actually relates to the next question. Like that was one of my favorite moments. I love that game. One of my favorite moments is like those things where like I said like notin to rhyme with cotton, and it made sense. Do you have any favorite moments from a class that you've taken or a scene that you've done or a show that you've watched that you're like, this was fun, or like I remember this and I loved when this happened?
In general, I do like when I started improv, UCB, and then Chicago City Limits was short form. So I generally played myself on stage. and I was just me yes ending and being a wise ass at the same time, which is me. So like people would laugh, which is cool, until like I think iOS or something. Like I started doing characters,
Mm,
and then that really expanded my tool belt, and I started having a lot of fun. And also, I learned how to get into a character really quickly, which drove everything I did in the improv scene and achieved that funness, that happiness. So you're not in your head; you're just having fun.
mm,
If we go back to the beginning statement, having fun, like for me, I achieved it by getting into a character. I'm like, oh, this is a funny voice, I could do this all day long. So like everything's filtered through that, which is why I like those character games, expert panel or good bad worst thing, because you're in character, you're asking questions, and then you're filtering through your character. So if I'm a mechanic, I'm gonna give you like car related stories and antonyms, and use car phrases and stuff like that, to my knowledge, which isn't much.
mm.
But I'll say like gas tank and rev your engine and stuff like that, you know. um, and then once you find that, then it becomes easier relating, giving gifts, accepting, playing the scene, because you are having fun and it's being filtered. If you're closer you are to yourself, you can fall into in your head because you are you playing you, and even though you're yes ending and you're responding to
Mm.
the person, you could react, but then you have to pull up the emotion. But if you have a character and you know how your character would laugh, or like if he has a silly laugh, you just put that in,
Yeah.
which is also a trick when I started. You can't overuse it, but when I started improv, I realized when I had a funny laugh or I laughed in a scene that the audience would laugh. So
Mm.
if I didn't really know how to respond in that moment, I'd kind of like pause and be like, like in a character, and then the audience would laugh, and then it'd go from there, and it'd buy me some time to
Yeah.
like come
Those.
up with words to explain that reaction.
Yeah. Those like 3.5 seconds that you really need to get an
Yeah,
idea. Because if it's any longer
yeah.
than that, you're gonna lose the audience.
You can't overuse it unless it's a character quirk.
Mm.
um After a while you need some specifics and stuff, but it is a good trick if you have a nice character and you don't know how to react to something and you need a second. Give a laugh. I'm sure
I'll tell you, my
almost always the
favorite.
audience laughs, your partner reacts, and by the time they come back with something, you have a response.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's it reminds me of like when I watch like when I'm in like rehearsals for improv and like I'm watching scenes and then the coach or like some of my team is like watching me watch the scene because I'm so like engaged with it, but I also just have a really like loud, awkward laugh. And so it's like someone's doing a scene and I'm just like like or that's not how I laughed, but I can't like do it without it actually naturally happening. But it's loud, it's aggressive, not aggressive. Anyways, but it's funny because people will like just like stop and they're like, "What's happening?" And then I'll start to break if I'm in a scene. If someone else like is noticing that I'm laughing, it's this whole like weird thing. But anyway, that being said, we're gonna segue into another question because that's how my segues are. Um, we talk a lot about improv and improv. People are like, well, what do I need improv for? I'm not an actor, I'm not a stand-up, I'm not, whatever. But I think there's value in improv for everyday life. So acting, comedy, improv, stand-up, all that stuff aside, are there any elements of improv that you feel like you've used, like just in general, like paying bills or working at like a 9 to 5, like a tech job or whatever, Wall Street, whatever. I'm making up scenarios, but are there elements of improv that you feel you carry into daily life?
Yeah, I think it's basically conversations and relating to people. Listening definitely helps. So when you have a conversation and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, here is like if you're talking to your mom or family, they could get on your nerves or like, bring up some stuff, but sometimes you just be like, ah, yes. So like you could yes end it and just put a positive spin and a joke on it, like, all right, or you could just get mad, which will get the other person mad, and then it won't be a fun conversation. So definitely relating to people and just overall the structure of improv and thinking about an improv show like a long form or even a short form with all its little parts as a whole.
Mm,
Seeing it, learning it, knowing how it works and produces comedy for the audience over and over again to a predictable degree is really amazing to bring to structure for the rest of your life, like
mm.
organizing events. Like I plan a lot of events, like you do a lot of stuff. You do
Probably
a
more than
ton
I
of
think I
stuff.
should be doing.
Yeah, you do a ton of stuff, but you got organizing events, and it's like, okay, how's this part fit? I like puzzles, which is also
Mm,
why I like improv. Improv to me is a puzzle. Stand up is a puzzle.
mm,
Okay, I have this thing that happened to me. Here's what I say, but how do I make it funny?
mm.
Okay, here's what happened. Here's how I really feel about it. Improv is more, it's telling the truth. Stand up is telling the truth, exaggerated plus
Hmm.
misdirection. Um, and then
That's a great way of putting it.
improv elements, the misdirection a lot of times is a comedy. So that's either, playing off your partner, or in a character game, you kind of like set them up one way and then you knock it down. Kind of like you said, failing funny in the Do Run Run. Not that I want to talk about
Hmm.
that again, but that last
Just
one,
make it a bit.
being so confident that you're gonna get a rhyme and taking the audience along with you. It's like, his name is Bill. He sat on a log and he had a chicken nugget,
Yeah,
right? It's like they're so sure you're gonna get it. It's like,
yeah, oh yeah.
and boom, you don't. And if you could do that on purpose, that's gonna create humor. Either
Hmm.
stand up writing it out, or when you're on the same page with your scene partner, it's just brilliant. Playing
Hmm.
game or peas in a pod, or when you mind meld and say the same thing in a peas in the pod, and that becomes like your tag.
Yeah, I love that.
The audience loves it. It's like I could watch that all day.
Yeah, I almost could watch a real solid, like, good mind meld, like, for an hour of, like, people trying to get the words. Oh, it's so fun because it's also fun on Zoom. When people do it on Zoom because of the lag, people don't always say the
Oh
same
yeah,
word,
yeah.
and then they both say it, and they're both like, "What? What did you say?"
Yeah. What?
It's
That's one of my you I never answered, but that mind meld, one of my teams, the chaperones, we did mind meld for our warm up, and I found I tend to like energized games like Busted Tea,
mm,
or Big Booty, something like that. Something that's like energized to warm up most of the time. But this group that we did Mind Meld was great because there's no feeling like it could go slow, but when you get that mind meld or play variations and you're on the same page, there's an instant like, yeah, right? So you
mm,
get that rush and you're on the same page and you're like, we're going to have a good show. So
mm.
whatever happens after that, I don't know, but at least you go in finding like, yeah, we're on the same page. We did it. Even if it took you the whole 20-minute warm up to get that one word, when you hit it,
It's so
it's
satisfying.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, a completely unrelated question because I do that a lot. I just say that it's related to make myself feel better. Um, for you, what makes words? I do that a lot too. I say words because that happens. What makes a successful improviser, and that can mean whatever you want it to mean. But for you, Wow. For you, what makes a successful improviser? Try saying that 5 times fast, folks. That's very hard.
I think a successful improviser is someone that basically, it's they're basics, but they are true. Is someone who supports their teammates, listens, so they could pick up on what your partner's saying and play that game, play that relationship, understand where they're coming from. So definitely support. Listening is huge. Reaction is is huge, and someone who brings enjoyment to the audience. So whatever, I'm a big fan of the audience. The audience lets me know whether I'm doing a good job or not, whether I'm funny or not. They don't lie, and it's a team effort for improv. But I think enjoyment of the audience, whatever that is, whether it's comedy, I lean towards comedy. I like everything improv that creates a laugh, and that's my preference. I do like some, serious moments in improv, as long as it's soon followed by laughs.
Yeah.
Like I think you need it. Like the serious moments make the laughs even better.
It's like the with the comedy sports thing where it's like give us a genre, any genre.
Yeah.
Comedy. We're trying. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always funny
Like,
to me because it's like poking fun at the audience, but also poking fun at the fact that it is comedy. So I love that.
yeah, it's I think reacting. There's listening and reacting. You can get, like, you could say something funny. I mean, when it comes naturally and you say something funny, that's cool. You could try to say something funny, which isn't really recommended, just going for the joke unless you're playing a joke game. But I'm talking long form in scene work. Um you could try, but like, reacting. Oftentimes, it's not noticed, but you get the laugh. The straight man gets the laugh
Hmm.
because everybody knows the crazy guy's crazy. It's like, he's just crazy. That's wacky, But the reaction of what? The reaction of the straight man thinking what the audience is thinking and saying it out loud to confirm the audience is right often creates a laugh. So don't underestimate reacting in a scene.
I love that. And again, it's also like I notice sometimes when I'm in class, it's like people want to play like the unusual character, the oddball, and a lot of times they don't want to play like the someone used the word control, which I really loved using the control character.
Oh,
And
control, yeah. That's a
yeah, and
good.
so I loved it, and I'm gonna steal it from Jafet Gordon now. But the control and the oddball, but everyone always wants to play the oddball because they think it's the funnier character. When a lot of times, like you said, the control can be just as funny because they're grounded in our own, as an audience, our own reality. And so it's like, I'm gonna call this out because it's weird, but it's also funny because it's weird. And like that's where that balance is between the two scene partners. Is both people can't just try to be funny, because if two people are trying to be funny, there's not a lot of humor. But if you are just speaking from truth, like we've talked about already, if you're speaking from truth, there are going to be moments that are funny, and that's what makes a scene great. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
there's it's like classic sitcom writing, right? The obvious joke, right? Guy's sick and he rings a bell, realizes his wife brings him food when he rings the bell because he's sick, extends the sickness so he
Hmm.
could get waited on longer, rings the bell. So, like, it's coming.
Hmm.
You're like, he's just gonna ring the bell, and it's coming, and then he does, and you laugh anyway.
Hmm. And it's also like, even then, it's like, it's like, oh, I have a cold. It's like, okay, I'll help you out. It's like, oh no, my stomach hurts. Oh no, I'm tired. Like, it just starts, like, you could even like de-heighten that scenario where it's like, oh, I just oh my my thoughts are just exhausting, and like that's a really terrible example, but we're not improvising, so I can make that up right there. But the idea, you get the idea. The idea is the heightening or deheightening of that situation also adds to that an inevitability of it being funny. Inevitability, I think that's a word.
Sure.
Anyway, moving on to inevitability. It's going to be inevitable that I was going to ask you this. I did a good segue there. Do you have any like plugs or pitches? I know you have your background of fun, but anything you want to plug, pitch, including your background?
Yeah, sure. If you'd like to follow me right there at Chad Shapiro, all social media, that'd be cool. If you'd like to see my stand up, that's the Chad Shapiro. If you'd like to see my improv shows that I'm producing, we have it's called Sets Entertainment is my entertainment company that I produce shows on Twitch. It's the Frenzy line. So Comedy Frenzy is our Hollywood Squares meets um, whose line is it anyway type short form built for Zoom. It's on Twitch. That's Comedy ENT. We also have Classic Film Frenzy starring Spencer over here on
Eh,
every third Friday at 7 p.m. What we do is we take a public domain movie, we put it on silent, and we voice over a totally new dubbed comedy film. So we don't speak at the film, we create a new film.
and I can almost guarantee the dialogue we're saying is much better.
Oh yeah, these are bad films. These are horrible films. And then I do an adult version. So our Saturdays at 5:30 shows are family friendly. Our 7 o'clock shows every second Friday at 7 p.m. PST is adult show. So it's a little longer. It's about 45 minutes, and you may hear cursing and adult topics. And we also have drinks and beverages. The 5:30 is family friendly. It's only a half hour. It goes quick, and it's a lot of fun. So that's it. You know, hopefully
Great.
watch me and join me, whether you're like an improviser or in a community or anything. Just a viewer. Let's
Yeah,
have the
casual
future of
observer.
improv.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. So here's my final question for you, and it's like the big question that everyone gets prepped on before, because this is why the Improv Summit exists. And I guess I could do it this way. I don't know which way I'm actually. Anyways, you get it. There's the Improv Summit. It's the Improv Summit. But I had a lot of people pre-pandemic, but even now with Zoom, because improv, as far as accessibility, anyone can take classes from anywhere at this point. I mean, I have a class where a student in my class like it's like 3 a.m. when the class is happening at like noon and Pacific, and it's like it's fun to see like what people want to take and how they want to take them and where they want to take them and all this stuff. But the question being, I get everyone, not everyone, I say everyone, I'm exaggerating. It's like three people. But I had like three people at one point ask me, like, Spencer, you take a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And my friends sound exactly like that because yes. And anyways, but it was hard for me to give that answer because I felt like there was a lot to divulge into that and a lot to like provide that information. If someone came up to you and said, Chad, where should I take improv? What's like one piece of advice or like one tidbit you'd give them to kind of guide them on their journey for starting improv?
For starting improv, I would yeah, I would talk to people who've taken improv classes and find out what is the community that um, at their improv theater and why they like it. Because as you can see, a lot of us on your show and you and me have taken from all over, but we very often gravitate towards one or two theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever feels like you the most, I would say go there. There's tons of stuff on Zoom right now. You could actually, train worldwide with a whole bunch of people,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. But I'd say talk and try it because these things cost money. Maybe audit a class if they have it.
Yeah, and like even
Do a
watch
drop in
shows.
workshop.
Yeah, watch shows too from
Oh,
different
watch shows.
places
Yeah, definitely watch
to see
shows.
what
I've
humor you like.
Yeah. I always try to watch shows that my coach or teacher is in, and just to see, it's like you're learning from them. You want to see how they do it on stage, you know?
Mm, I love that. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of value in, especially with like, we talk about improv, and I know for me, I can't necessarily afford to go to all these places at all because improv is expensive. But there are ways of working that. I mean, scholarship, work study, all these things, but even watching shows, or like you said, like watching different teachers that you might want to study with. Where are they teaching? Where are they performing? Where is the most accessible for me at this moment in time? And so I think that that's a great suggestion, especially knowing that oftentimes improv's not cheap.
Yeah, and here's my advice. Right now, there's plenty of jams, but just put a post out and say, "Hey, you want to practice some improv? Anybody want to perform and just jam? We'll have a group of 8 people. We'll keep it low, and we'll see what happens. And then if you find that you guys meld at that point, get a coach, and then evolve it. Whether you just want to play short form games or do like a couple of 20-minute sets and just see what happens. You could do that. That is free. The community is free. So take advantage. You are not a theater name. You are not a theater owner. Do not let them hold you back. Cross train. It is free to access the community.
That's great. That's great. Chad, I lied. I told you that that was the last question I
Oh
had for you.
man.
I know I'm a big fat liar, but I'm no Paul Giamatti. Okay, all right. Anyways, that was my pun for the day, I guess.
Yeah, that was
Um,
sideways.
oh no, big fat liar. He's a big fat liar.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I
Oh, you said the
said
joke was
sideways.
sideways. I see.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
caught it. I
doubled
caught
down
it.
on yours.
I see. I see what you did. I got it. I got it. It took me a second. It took me a second, because Paul Giamatti's in a lot of movies. I at this
More
point
than one.
I was gonna do a third one, and then I couldn't think of another movie that he's
I
in.
would
Even
say
though
he might even be in Billions. Billions.
is he in
He's in the
Billions?
TV show Billions.
Oh, see, I don't know that. Anyways, um, oh, he's some might say he's the John Adams. All right, I'm done. Anyway, so that being said, like I said, I'm a big fat liar. Who this whole thing just went really sideways. In fact, it's definitely no American Splendor. There we go. That might work. I don't know. The point is, would you like to do an improv scene?
Yeah, I would love to. I'm
Great.
gonna stand up for this. That's why I
Yeah,
changed my camera. So if you saw that
do
I
it.
turned small,
All
that
good.
was
I'm gonna
why.
stay seated because that's where I have. But I
Okay.
have two questions for you on this. The first one is, would you like to initiate or would you like me to initiate?
You know what? You initiate,
Okay.
and I'll try to react.
Great. And then either one of us can call it. We'll go for about 2 minutes or so. And then once we find that out, we find the out. And then would you like a location, a relationship, or a word?
Ooh, I like location.
Location. All right. The location is chess club. All right. Thank you, chess club. Peter, I'm going to place my rook to over here to knight 3. So I'm going to take your knight. That's my
Oh,
piece.
I understand. You will take my knight, but I find this coffee more of a challenge than you.
Honestly, that coffee's got some work that needs to be done.
I find it kind of, grainy in a way. It toughens you up for the sport we are playing.
Yeah, what's interesting is people say that chess isn't a sport, and I feel like it is. I feel like
Oh,
I need to have some of that coffee because I need to get some of that grainy toughness to tell people, hey, back off, football geeks. Chess is a sport.
you do. It seems that you've proven yourself to be a worthy adversary and possibly a friend.
Oh, that's nice of you say, Peter. I was just hoping we could just finish a game of chess, but now I feel like I have a best friend.
Ralphie, would you look at the board? Check.
Okay. Well, I see that your queen is ready to take my king, so I am going to sacrifice my one and only rook. Gonna move it right in front of that king.
You sure you want to let go of that piece? I saw you did, but I'm gonna give you a chance.
I don't really have any other pieces.
Uh-huh.
I mean, except for that pawn that's way over in the corner, but that's not going to do me much good here.
No, it won't. You see, I'm getting in your head, and that's part of the game of chess.
Peter, I thought we were best friends now.
We are best friends, and best friends pass on knowledge to each other. I like you so much that you may even... Oh! Why, I'm in danger now. You did let go of that piece.
Yeah, I did.
Suddenly, the coffee doesn't taste as well.
Check.
No!
It's your turn.
I resign. But you know what? I may have
That was a really
lost.
long handshake.
It was. I resign. But I gained a friend.
Wow, that's... See, I feel like you gained a friend. I gained a friend, but I also gained some knowledge. You know what that knowledge is?
Please enlighten me. Friend?
I learned that coffee can be distracting. You're so distracted by that coffee, you didn't see me checkmate. So that's why I won.
You're right. I don't like this coffee. I'm gonna complain about this, Peter. We're friends. We should start a union and get better coffee.
You know what we could call it? Chess loving, coffee loving club.
Chess loving, coffee loving.
No, not loving, lubbin. Like,
Lovin'.
chuck it. Coffee chucking. Coffee chucking.
Coffee chucking. Checkmate.
Chess.
We could be the
check. Coffee chuck checkmate club.
Well, I'll forget about this game, but I'll always remember our friendship.
Me too. I'll never forget that I beat you either. Scene. Thanks everybody so much for coming. That's the Improv Show. That's Chad. I'm Spencer. See you next time. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.